You talked about the ego thing, that the ego is sabotaging you. Can you quickly say how and what are the first steps that you can stop your ego sabotaging yourself?
You have to objectify it. You have to realize, like, the thought process, like, is when you start having those egoic thoughts, this is difficult. Most people won't do it. All right? When you start having an egoic thought, when I don't have to do it, there'll be a rationalization combined with it, okay? So there's something that you know that you're supposed to do, and intellectually you know that if you did that thing, your life would be better. In some way, your life would be better if you did the thing. And then about that time, you start having a second thought in your head. It's like, well, my life's pretty damn good already. Derek said Switzerland's a nice country. I live in Switzerland. I'm thinking about my education. I'm doing a lot of things good already. I don't need to do that extra thing. Well, all right, asshole, but do you want to maintain the status quo, or do you want to have the best possible outcome? And your ego does not exist. And think of what an egoic structure is. It's just a protective mechanism. I don't say like it's right or wrong. It just is, It just is. And it's a coping mechanism that lets you get through your day, where you get to say, you know what, I'm good enough already. I'm good enough already. It allows the time to pass by without you feeling the cognitive dissonance to go do something productive. Because nobody here does anything productive because you felt fucking super content with the way things were. You did the productive things that you've done because you were discontent with the way things were, and you knew they could be fucking better. And that's why any of you bothered to go to school. It's why you bothered to do anything. It's why you did anything in your life. Any skill or any talent or any attribute about yourself that you're proud of and should be reasonably proud of, it's not because you felt content with the way it used to be. It's you're like, you know what? And you might have been way above average back then, okay? So this is not saying that you were a loser. I don't think that at all. There's a lot of people that are far above average that they still know, but it could be even better. But I know there's more. And I know I'm not far away from it. I just have to do a bit more. Just a bit more. And a person's ego exists to protect them from having those feelings of discontent. A person's ego exists to tell you, you're good enough the way you are. I'm already a superhero. I'm already the god of the universe. Who here sometimes thinks that you're the god of the universe? I certainly do, but most of you do too. I don't know who will admit it or not. Who has a thought on, okay, more than that, some of you are lying. You're lying. I know you both think you're God. Maybe you are. Maybe you are. Maybe it was all part of God's plan. When they say that, maybe they're talking about you or you. No, but that's fine. And your brain, my brain kind of vacillates back and forth where I think I'm the most important human that ever lived. And then, and probably you think the same thing. I hope you do. I hope you do. And my brain kind of goes back and forth between, well, I'm probably the most important human that ever lived. And then the other half of the day, I'm thinking about that, I'm hesitate to use the word nihilism, but just of a more empirical perspective, that when you think about the vastness of time and space, you're really quite insignificant. And I kind of go back and forth with both. And I don't feel any great emotion with either one. I think they're both true. That on one hand, any human organism should like itself and think that you're quite important. If you don't think that you're important, you won't even invest in yourself. If you don't think that your life matters, you won't make an effort to make it an even better life. If it just didn't matter, you could just do any old bullshit and it would be just fine. So it's probably a great thing if you think that you're extremely important in the grand scheme of things. It's probably a good thing. It'd probably motivate you to be an even better human. So you'd be able to contribute more and have even better outcomes, and then your ego would be really happy and tell you that, again, that you're awesome, So that's not a bad thing. But, both of those thoughts are probably true. That, the sun burns out at some time, I don't know. They say the Earth's been here 4-point-something billion years, 4.5, 4.6 is my understanding. And, at one time the Earth wasn't here, and at one time in the future it won't be here again. And so whatever you think your legacy is, at one time it'll be engulfed by the sun, and it never mattered. And there's all kinds of stars out there. Every star out there is another sun. Most of them are bigger than ours. So that's how insignificant we are at the same time. But the ego thing, just back to a normal human perspective instead of the vastness of space and time. Your ego is just telling you that it's okay to procrastinate in the short term instead of being the best you could have been. And I would just argue that you probably shouldn't procrastinate. You're going to die. So, Derek, Derek, sometimes I don't feel motivated. I'm an apathetic little bitch. What do I do? Well, remember your mortality. You're going to die. It's extraordinarily improbable that you're the first human that's born and remains immortal. Extraordinarily improbable. Very unlikely that you're the first immortal. Very unlikely. As much as you might like it to be true, probably not true. So, the sooner, I don't know a better motivator. I've never had a better motivator. I'm not aware of a better motivator than be like, well, I'm probably going to fucking die. So what do I want to do between now and then? How should I spend my time? Now, that'll help you put your ego in check a little bit. So, well, I'm probably going to fucking die. What should I do between now and then? And that kind of makes you the screenwriter of your own movie, of your life story. So what do I want to do between now and then? It gives you great, it's a little bit scary. But on the other hand, it also gives you great liberty. It's like, well, how do I want to write that story? What are the sort of adventures I should have? What's the sort of things that I should do or not do? And just changing that thought in your head of like, you are the CEO of your life. You are the boss. You are your boss, whether you want to be or not. If you deny it, then you're just, now you're a character in somebody else's play. You're not writing your story anymore. Now you're just a character in somebody else's story. And you just willingly put yourself there. How fucking pathetic is that? So if you don't know that you're in charge of your life and nobody cares about your outcomes more than you, you're probably going to have a pretty subpar life compared to what was possible. So I really urge you to think about that personal responsibility. And just regarding the ego thing, the more you could objectify that, which is what I just tried to do the last 3 minutes or so, is the more you could objectify that and be like, oh, well, in the vastness of space and time, probably I'm utterly insignificant. But while I'm here, I do kind of care about myself, and I'd like to have be the best me possible, have the best outcomes for me possible. There's this terrible insidious thing, some of you that studied finance or econ would understand this, of temporal discounting. And the Richard Thaler and Kahneman Tversky and others talked about this in the 70s. This is not a new idea. This is from the 70s and 80s, and some of these people won Nobel Prizes decades later. Understanding that is, one more concept I'll lump in with it, and before I explain is, is loss aversion, or that people have an irrational fear of losing a franc versus gaining a franc. People have a disproportionate fear of this, that they feel that a loss at more than double the event. So if you made $1, euro, franc, pound, etc. The utility, the utiles that would be registered from gaining an additional $1, franc, pound, etc. If you lost the same unit, if you lost that same unit of measurement, you feel about 2.5 times more bad about it than you felt good. The order of magnitude of on that index. If you gained 10 points when you found a franc, you probably lost 22 points when you lost a franc, and it's utterly irrational. And that keeps us all running around being quite conservative. People don't want to lose anything because it'd be embarrassing. You'd be embarrassed. You'd feel humiliation, and you'd feel embarrassment, and you feel fear, and you hate even thinking about it. How do you feel if I say somebody's going to take money out of your pocket? It doesn't feel good. In any case, you think about those couple things, and the humans just have a terrible predisposition to, they have the temporal discounting part means you have an extraordinary bias to your short-term emotions versus your future emotions. That people discount their own life circumstances into the future. You have a bias towards right now, right now, right now, right now. And marketers exploit the shit out of that, as you could all imagine. But you all do it. And even people that should know better. Here, let's play a little thought experiment. Some of you know this, so if you already know this thought, it's an old academic experiment, then don't ruin it for the others, because they'll learn something useful from it. But let's play this little game. Just write a number on a piece of paper. There's no wrong answer. There's no wrong answer. It's just going to prove a macro point, okay? So let me give you some framework before you write that number. So you could have 1,000 Swiss francs today. Right now, you could have 1,000 Swiss francs, or you could have 1,000 plus X 1 year from now. So solve for X. What does X have to be 1 year from now? It's guaranteed. The money is secure. You could have 1,000 francs right now, or you could have 1,000 plus something 1 year from now. How much do you need to be paid? How much of a premium do you need to be paid to defer that for 1 period, for 1 year? You understand the question? So write your answer to that question. There's no wrong answer. Just write what you sincerely think. shout out some of those numbers. 1,001?
600. 500.
10,000. 300. 100.
1,200.
Yeah. So think about this. 10,000. Who had 10,000? 10,000? So, for the other finance people in the room, like, where the fuck are you going to get 1,000% return this year? Safe return at that, guaranteed return. So that's an extraordinary rate. Yeah, in 500, 600.
If I have debts, I'll take the 1,000 if it means I cover more interest.
Well, you have to calculate the interest, but
I'm gonna get
I hope you're not paying 10,000% interest.
I'm gonna get, but it might have to be.
You would calculate the interest and you'd factor that in, sure. So if plus the risk-free rate, plus inflation, whatever. But we already discussed it. Anyway, the point is this: is like for the finance people in the room, and this is normal, okay? So I'm not making fun of those that said a high number because that's normal. That's how humans think. But just be cognizant of that. Is like, well, it's a bit irrational. Perfectly normal, perfectly human, but a bit irrational. The common answer to that, when they polled large groups of people, I think only in the United States, I'm not sure if this has been replicated elsewhere, the common answer is people want about 420% return. So 4.2x in addition to defer for 1 year. And if you think of what treasuries or a bond might pay you in a year, or a risk-free rate, in Germany it would give you a negative interest rate. In Japan they give you a negative interest rate. So I'm not sure what the rates are here, but in the U.S. you could get 1% or 1 point something percent perhaps. But people don't want 1%. They say something extraordinary. The common answer, the average of those answers, the mean answer I believe is 420%, and which is and now here this is scarier. What I'm going to tell you next is even scarier. When they did this amongst MBA students, people who should know better, people who are trained to understand math and finance, okay? When they did this amongst MBA students, they did Harvard, Wharton, in a third school, and I can't recall what the third school is right now. But they had MBA students from 3 different schools. Those people who should know better still wanted 217%. So they cut the bias in half, but it's still extraordinarily stupid, It's still a ridiculous, discount rate. Realize that your brain's doing stupid things constantly. And even if you should know better in certain situations, you still do it. You still do stupid things constantly. And the more you could be aware of those and avoid those pitfalls, man, you're gonna have a lot better outcomes, So your ego is not your friend. Your ego keeps you right where you're at, and you have to put your ego aside and just think of more objectively, more empirically, more rationally, and then find the fun in the process. The best people in the world, period, men or women, they're going to congregate with one another. They're going to go spend time together. It's a self-selection. You're either going to choose to be one of those people, or you're not going to be welcome in that group. You're going to behave that way. Those things that you shouted out a moment ago, trust, loyalty, integrity, perseverance, good work ethic. All those things that you mentioned, I'm probably interjecting a few of my own, but I don't think you'll disagree with any of those. All those things you mentioned, like if you're that type of person, other people that are like that are going to want to be around you. The best men are going to want to be around someone like you. The best women are going to want to be around someone like you. What's on your mind? What can I help you with?
I was wondering, how do you perceive what is being considered as valuable in a certain social context or environment? How do you go about providing it?
People perceive value differently. And this is not a bad thing. It's great that our economy is so diverse that there are doctors of engineering and there are also Uber drivers and Starbucks workers, Starbucks baristas, and medical doctors, and business people, and bankers. This is not a bad thing. And chocolate makers, and watchmakers. I like your Swiss watches. I like your Swiss chocolates. Value is going to be perceived differently by different people. And the goal is not to be valuable to everybody. You drive yourself crazy trying to pander to every human that you talk to and you'll never be good at it. And the OG pimp, Adam Smith, 300 years ago or so, he talked about, just a fundamental tenet of economics is, diversification of labor, specializing in something, and bartering with the others. That you specialize deeply in one thing, and the man with a doctorate degree in engineering probably, maybe he'd be okay at banking, but probably he could do something else better. Probably he should build a skyscraper or a bridge or some shit, or help someone do it. And, let a banker be a banker. And, if you try to be everything to everybody, you won't be good at shit. And if you could find a couple things that you could be very, very good at, you'll be extraordinarily useful. And people, you might be famous for that. If you're good at one fucking thing, if you're pretty good at one fucking thing, you might become famous for that. Might become wealthy for that. Depends what it is, obviously. So, get the idea out of your head that you're trying to get along with everybody. Get the idea out of your head that it's possible to be, I want everybody to like me. If you want everybody to like you, it's going to be bad, man. It's going to be fucking bad. Because nobody's going to love you. You might be agreeable. They might find you agreeable. They might tolerate your presence. The mass of people out there might tolerate your presence, but they won't really love you because you don't fucking stand out. Because you don't have any real opinions, or you keep them to yourself. More likely, you just keep them to yourself, And, I think effective communication, I'll answer your question very precisely in a minute, but I don't think effective communication is getting along with everybody. When I say I wish half the room would leave, I really mean that. I don't mean it in a disrespectful way. They'd be better off. Half of them are just here, they're voyeurs. They're voyeurs. They're kind of interested in maybe they'll go do something, maybe kind of someday. They're not going to do shit. They'd be better off to go do something else right now. And the other half of the people here, they'll take a piece of information and go execute on it, and they'll make their life tangibly better. And those are the ones that I came to talk to. I can't help somebody that doesn't want to help themselves. I can't help somebody that wants a subsidy when they should be taking action and just earning it for themselves. It'd be pretty hard. If you were living your life in a way that you were, taking care of your health and fitness. That might mean exercise, eating healthy, etc. Okay? If you're somehow taking care of your health and fitness, if you were contributing to other relationships in your life, to your friends or partners or colleagues, etc. If you were doing something that'll make your finances better in the future, if you're learning something new about something that's exciting or interesting to you, if you're doing any couple of those things, not even all four, if you just went through your day and did a couple of those things with a little bit of thoughtfulness, you wouldn't fucking be so down on yourself. And for a lot of you, how many of you are your own harshest critic? Probably nobody in the world is meaner than you are. I can see this in your eyes. I see several, but I see that in your eyes that you're one of those people that, I know that because I'm that way. And I see other people that way too that, stop abusing yourself. And that doesn't mean you get to give yourself credit for things that you didn't do or you don't deserve, but stop fucking abusing yourself too, man. A lot of the good things happen. I'm not one of these assholes that's like, no negative self-talk, boys. Well, I probably had plenty of negative self-talk, and it helped me accomplish a lot of shit. And if I had to do it all over again, I'd be happy. If I didn't have a better model, I'm happy I went with that model. I didn't have a better model at the time, so that one was good enough. Helped me accomplish a lot of shit. You're one of these guys. Plenty of negative self-talk. Doesn't mean you're a bad guy. I just see that you're grumpy like I am. You have that serious grumpiness like I do. And also think of the good things. Give yourself credit for some of the good things you did. Give yourself a little pat on the back for that and be like, you know what? I'm pretty goddamn good the way I am. And I'm gonna go do some more good stuff. So you feel a little bit more lighthearted. That's why I'm so fucking cheery all the time. It's my secret to happiness. But this thing about value, it's like you're not there to give value to everybody. You have to define a target market. Who are the people that you want to spend time with? Who are the people that you should never spend time with? Because you're not going to be valuable to everybody. What you perceive as valuable, or the big skills or talents that you have that you could contribute to somebody and they would perceive that as very valuable. Not everybody else cares, not everybody else needs what you have to provide, and they won't appreciate you much because of that. And that's just not your target market. That's fine. I talk about this in terms of tampons frequently because I think it really makes the point. If you were a purveyor of tampons, you were the CEO of a tampon company, and you're responsible for 100% of the marketing budget for your tampons. Who's your target market here? Who are we going to market these tampons to? 50% of the population is men. Who wants to invest in a tampon company who sells to men? Who thinks that's a good idea? Probably not. So you probably feel pretty comfortable about getting rid of that. Half of the population gone like that. And then all women? Are all women going to buy your tampons? Well, fucking talk to me.
No.
Who's going to?
Girls in a certain age range?
Yeah. And for 60% of her life, she'll have no interest in tampons. So you got rid of all the men, and then you got rid of 60% of the women. And frankly, anybody here that, if you've thought about this at all, it's not a leap to say that you would prefer to market to the woman that's in the earlier end of her life cycle. So by the time you acquire that customer, it'll be a repeat customer for a period of time. So and very, very quickly, you get rid of 90% of the world's population. And then you take a few more swipes at it, and you'd say for socioeconomic reasons, for logistical or distributional reasons, for religious or cultural reasons, etc., that a lot more people aren't going to buy your shit either, and you're not going to spend your fucking time or money trying to reach them. So it's probably less than 5% of the world. So you could have the best fucking tampon on earth, and it's probably 5% of the world that you might like to talk to that's going to buy their shit. And it could be a fantastic product. If nobody knows about it, they're not going to buy it. I'm sure you'd make a great tampon, sir. Now, but every fucking buddy you talk to, you shouldn't be those other 95%. Your entire communication from that tampon company should be speaking to the 5%. The 5% that's your customer. The 5% their life would be tremendously better if they knew about your superior product. If they knew about the superior offering, they would thank you. They would thank you for creating this for them. You're not supposed to talk to the other 95%. It's not the right fitment. It's not the right group. It's not your target market. So what I would suggest to you guys, you don't go out in the fucking world and try to get along with everybody. You know, what kind of man am I? What kind of life do I want to live? Who would be the right companions for that life, for your fucking life, for the type of person that you really are, and the life that you want to live, given your nature as a unique human. And then now you got something. Now you've got a foundation. If you don't know who you are and you don't know what you want, you can't set a fucking goal. And you wouldn't know if you achieved the goal. And just fact check this with yourself. Did you accomplish your biggest goals that you've achieved so far? Did that shit happen accidentally? No, you set a fucking goal. And you hustled and you made something happen. And you made sacrifices. And you lost sleep. And you worked harder. You did what was necessary to achieve your fucking goals. That's why you're already successful at something. The people who didn't do that, they suck. If you're offended by what I said, you're probably one of those people that suck. A smart person would not be offended by this. A productive person would not be offended by this. It's just true. It just is. All right? So don't go abuse yourself. Don't torment yourself. Don't waste your life trying to get along with the other 95% that are not your fucking target market.